Morning, guys. Lexiot's the Raptor Freak here on a Thursday morning, one of the last days of 2021. So today we're doing a year-end review, 2021 year-end review for the Toronto Raptors. Not a good year for the Raptors franchise. Kind of harkens back to old era Raptors of having, not the best win percentage. The last 10 years, the Raptors have had a 60% win percentage for the most part. We've won about 60% of all of our games and been a winning team for about 10 years. And this year is our first losing year in a long time. In fact, I'm looking at it right now. And so far for this calendar year, we have 40 wins between last season and this season. 40 wins. And on the other side, we have 59 losses. And we have one more game tomorrow. So that means, tomorrow we could either be 41% for the year or 61% in losing. So, or 60% in losing. So we could be 41 and 59 or 40 and 60 after tomorrow's game of the Clippers. And I feel like we're going to do good against Clippers because, all right, they played the Celtics last night, and their best players last night were Eric Bledsoe and Morris, one of the Morris twins. And they're really scant with their talent right now. Like, they're very gettable. So if we have some guys come back, or we even play with what we had the other night, maybe with just one more addition, I think we can beat the Clippers tomorrow night because they're a 500 team. They're not anything like they should be with Kawhi and Paul George. So they're very gettable. I looked at their roster, and the talent there is not that great. It's really kind of interesting. So I'm hoping that we can win tomorrow and end 2021 41 and 59 for this year. And that means we're still a 40% kind of team this year. But hopefully this calendar year will be an aberration. This will be that little dip after greatness for so long, and we'll go right back to a 60% winning percentage for 2022. Like, that's what I'm hoping, that we get through this protocol. I mean, this year has been insane. This has been the year that the Raptors have collectively gotten COVID together twice, 2 times, earlier this year in March, and then just now, like just in the last week, we've been having to deal with the COVID stuff. So this year will always be synonymous with Tampa, with COVID, with, certain people that were on the team that we didn't want on the team last year and things like that. I don't want to say too much because this is going to be my trivia today. But yeah, the year in review, there were all kinds of great bright spots, but there were a lot of like tough times too. And there's good things that happened this year for sure. There's going to be one big thing that happened this year that's going to be really good for us for the future for a long time. And I think y'all know what it is. But it is also the year that we said goodbye to the GOAT, the greatest Raptor of all time. And that's sad. That was a sad thing. So 2021 will always be remembered as a tough year for the Raptors, a year where the team got COVID twice. We said goodbye to our franchise greatest player of all time, and we said hello to a new player, a new era. But it's tough. It's been a tough year, and it is what it is, guys. I'm glad it's going to be over after tomorrow, and we can get into a new year and start with I really look at it this way. Like the calendar flipping is going to be a new thing for the Raptors. We're going to be in better shape next year. We're going to have a better winning percentage for the second half of the season, and we're going to be back to being a 60% winning team. I really, really believe in this prediction for next year. It's going to count on a lot of health and luck in some ways, but we've got the talent and we've got ourselves together that we should be winning 2 out of 3 of our games for sure starting now. And let's start it with the Clippers tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, Scotiabank Arena. Oh, yeah. Now, some news and notes just real quick before we get into the trivia today, guys. The Raptors the team in the Scotiabank Arena and the officials and security have actually been throwing people out of games. I was reading in the Toronto Star that they've thrown like 18 people out at the game against Philadelphia, and they threw 14 people out at the Warriors game that I was at, where I almost got thrown out. So they're very serious. There are ejections happening, but when you think about the whole scheme of things, they threw 18 people out on Tuesday, but how many people were at the game? Almost 7,000. So think about the percentage. Like, most people were complying, and this wasn't an issue. And of course, there's going to be a certain amount of knuckleheads in any kind of population that are just not going to do things right, or not want to pay attention to the rules, or do things how they want to. But they're very strict about it. And, if you're going to the games right now, I don't know how many people are really going to the games right now. It's a really tough time to either want to go to the games because a guy's missing, or because of safety for yourself and going and being around crowds, different stuff like that. But if you're going, be real careful, because they will be on you about not wearing your mask. So you got to make sure you do. I don't know. There's not any really news about players getting off protocols in the last day or so. It was really quiet yesterday in Raptor land for news. I think we're pretty much where we've been with things, with who's been cleared and who's ready. I fully expect Cam or Precious to play tomorrow night, if not maybe both of them. So that would be really good, because they do have Zubac. They have a little bit of size for the Clippers, and we need more of our big guys back. And there's more and more buzz in the last couple of days about keeping DJ Wilson on the team, that we need to figure out a way to keep him on the team. Nick Nurse wants to keep him. But the thing is right now that if we try and keep him, it's going to put us over the luxury tax, which was the whole reason why we cut Sam Decker earlier this season. So it would kind of defeat that purpose. I don't know if they cut somebody else instead and to keep him. I don't know. But they really need to look at this and think about this, because I think this kid is a keeper. He's the kind of guy who could really help us later on this season in all kinds of different ways, especially because he's got some size and he's got some, quickness for his height and stuff like that. So I really hope they figure it out. And I figured out how I'm going to remember his last name is Wilson. I'm just going to think about Castaway. That's all. I just think about it, the volleyball, and that's how I remember his name is Wilson, not Miller. Because I think there was a DJ Miller who played for the Bucks a long time ago, and that's why I'm getting it confused. This happens with me. Is sometimes with some names, like Simmons is another one. I still think about Bobby Simmons, who played for the Sacramento Kings in like the late 80s, and I get him confused with Ben Simmons. So it's a similar thing. I get DJ names mixed up now. But now I know Castaway, volleyball, I'm going to always remember as DJ Wilson. Okay, looks like we got some of y'all here today. So let me go ahead and get the trivia question out for you guys, and you guys can start answering it. Now, it's pretty simple. It's probably what you thought it would be. It's who has played on the Raptors this season. Now, this is really important. Like, you can get strikes for naming guys who did play this year, but you got to think about the question and answer it correctly. All right, I'm asking for the 15 players this year who played over 500 minutes for the Raptors this calendar year. That's between the games last season and the games we've had so far this season. Who's played over 500 minutes for the Raptors in the calendar year of 2021? And if you name anybody who's under those 500 minutes, I will give you a strike, even if they played on the team this year. So think about it really carefully. Of course, there's some big names, that really easy names to figure out for this one. But Raptors players with the most minutes this season, this whole calendar year, MK47's on the board with Chris Boucher. You know what? I was shocked about this. You guys realize that Chris Boucher is number 4 on this list. He has played the 4th most minutes in the calendar year of 2021 for the Toronto Raptors. And of course, we've seen the ups and downs of Chris Boucher's year this year. And earlier last season, he was playing at a high level for us when we really needed him to, because of COVID issues and stuff like that. And he had a great year last year. We expected so much from him going into this year. And then right in training camp, he had his finger bent back by Precious Achiuwa, incidentally, not on purpose or anything. And then he had to sit out for the first little bit of the beginning of the season. He got a late start, and then he struggled for a while. And he's been such a focal point of people looking at him and saying, Chris, what's wrong with Chris? Why isn't his 3 going down? Because he was shooting so well last year. And now we just recently seen him break that funk and starting to score 20-point games in the last 2 games and stuff like that. So it's been a real journey of a year for Chris. It's been the year of learning how to meditate for Chris, and lots of Twitch streams and stuff like that. I love you, Chris, and I'm so glad you're finally figuring it out, buddy, and you're doing a good job. He is one of our Canadian guys, and we should be proud of him. So, MK, you're on the board with Chris Boucher. All points today will be 5 points for each player you get. There's no difference in who you name and stuff like that. So if you just name one, you get 5 points. That's how it's going to go. All right. MK has now said the number one name on this list, the man who played the most minutes for the Toronto Raptors in the calendar year of 2021 was Fred VanVleet. That's right. Fred VanVleet. And you know what the highlight of this year for Fred VanVleet was? We know what it was. It was that Orlando game when he got 54 points and he scored the franchise high for a Raptor ever in the whole franchise history. He beat DeMar's record. And that is one of the really bright spots in this whole entire year. This year has just been trying and troubling for Fred. Can you imagine being a leader like he was and trying to pull this team through the COVID last season and then not being able to physically himself do as much as he wanted to do because he was affected by it physically and that it hurt his wind and all kinds of stuff? Can you imagine the frustration and all that went on in the last couple of months of last season, trying to get this team back together and just not being able to have it because of your strength and your conditioning? It sucks. So Fred came back this season with a new attitude, and he knew coming into this season that he was going to have to be the leader, the floor general, the man for the team. And you know what? It's been rough sailing at times, but for the most part, I think Fred has done really, really well as the new leader, floor general of the Raptors franchise, and that he's still learning the role. And give him by the end of this year, and we'll see how he does before things are all done. So I think it was a great year for Fred in some ways, a tough year for Fred, a growing year for Fred. But that bright spot of that 50-point game against Orlando earlier this season, to me, I keep looking at that and being happy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Fred is great in his role, Click. You're right. And I love the drills he's running with his son at home right now on Instagram. You go look at his Instagram right now. He has a clip of him and his son doing drills in their living room with little cones and stuff like that. So he's getting his workout still. The competition's a little different, but hey, he's still getting his workouts in. So, all right, Click, we're playing trivia today. And the question is, what players have played the most minutes in the calendar year of 2021 for the Raptors? All these players on my list, there's 15, have played over 500 minutes. And this is updated right up to the game that we just played. I've added all the minutes up. I've taken the minutes away from the 4 games that were in 2020. And I've added up all the minutes for all the players and accumulated them. And we're marking them down. So far, MK's got Chris Boucher, Fred VanVleet, and now Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam's number 2 on this list. And Pascal had a really up and down year. If you think about it, he was in that same boat with Fred with the COVID thing, came back and did not feel 100% ever after that bout, the first one earlier this year. And then Pascal had to have surgery. And this is the thing. Pascal, he's played the second most minutes for the Raptors this year. And in the middle of this calendar year, he had surgery and he was inactive for 8 months of this year. So that just shows how much Pascal was, he had to rehab and get back and come back from the surgery, came back late in the season, and he's still number 2 for minutes played for the Raptors this calendar year. That's just how important and how great Pascal is. And in this last game we just saw him play, I'm telling you, we saw Rico Hines, Pascal Siakam. He's the kind of player that is going to get you points if he's on and he can score and get to his spots the way he wants to. So yeah, Pascal and Fred and Chris, you got 3 of the top 4. Let's keep going. MK's going to go a clean sweep. If nobody else wants to jump in here, just keep naming names. You got to think about last year and this year and make sure that you pick guys that actually played a lot, because everybody on my list has played at least 500 minutes, and there's 15 names on this list. All right, MK's got Gary Trent Jr. Now, Gary is interesting because until recently, he was kind of low on this list, but he's jumped up a bunch. He's actually 5th now on this list. He's played the 5th most minutes for the Raptors in the calendar year of 2021, and he is he's got 1,514 minutes for the Raptors this year. And you know what? I tell you what, they've been a joy to see. Immediately when we made that trade for who Click AM just named and is on this list also. Yes, Click, you get the points for Norman. When he got traded for Norman, right away, Gary started paying dividends. He fit in so well. He had some huge games right away. He hit a game winner. He had so much promise, but we all saw like an offensive edge to him. We saw that like, well, this guy's a shooter and this is going to be great for our team. But we didn't realize coming into the year now that he would develop this defensive side to his game this year. And it's been just such a joy and a blessing that we've got Gary Trent Jr. on our team. And I think it was so serendipitous and awesome that he got on the team the same way his dad did. He got traded from Portland at the same point in his career, the same time. And that's why it's so special. Like, this is a real bond that Gary Trent Jr. has with the Toronto franchise that we don't totally understand. It may seem like he's casual about being a Raptor, but it's a very serious thing, guys, deep down inside, because it's a father's legacy. And it's a place that when he was a child, it was magical, because this is where his dad was playing basketball. And this was like a city that his dad told him all about all the time. And he wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps and exceed his dad's footsteps. And boy, has he. Gary Trent is an important part of our future, and I'm so happy he's here. And if anything, this year, being so crappy with COVID and poor records and not making the playoffs, at least we have acquired some very good players for the future right now. And Gary Trent Jr. is definitely one of them. So, MK, you get those points. And now we'll give Click 5 points for getting Norman Powell. Yes. This year was a year we said goodbye to some players that we really, really, truly love in this franchise, in the history. And playoff Powell, Storm and Norman, Angry Norman, Norm. Yeah, 24 Norm. It's too bad, and it was sad to see him go. But it was something had to give at some point last year. We could tell. You know, we knew that some contract situations going into this summer weren't going to be able to be figured out well. So we were smart. We made a trade for the future. We traded Norm for Gary, and it worked out for both teams. Norman's very happy in Portland. They're not doing so well right now, but he's been a great fit for that team, and we miss Norm. We're going to miss Norm forever because he's going to be one of these classic forever kind of Raptor guys. To me, he's like the past decades Morris Peterson. Morris Peterson of the 2000s, Norman Powell was our Morris Peterson for the last 10 years. And I love Norm. I always love Norm. And honestly, he will be like honored by us at some point too. I think he will, especially because he's one of the champions. And he was a part of this team for 8 years, y'all. He was a big part of our team and a big part of our culture for a long time. Okay, MK got our guy, the GROAT. Of course, I named him. Of course, he's on here. He slipped down this list. Gary overtook Kyle recently with the minutes for this year. So Kyle's actually 6th on this list. Of course, Kyle didn't play a whole lot at the end of his tenure with the Raptors. He decided to make his last game a big win over the Lakers in LA, and that was his last game played as a Raptor. And it was so sad last season because we knew his contract situation. We knew that he was going to be up in the summer, and the writing was on the wall. It was literally on the wall. When he called the Remax people, he called them and said, I want to put my house for sale in Toronto. We knew the writing was on the wall in the middle of the season last year. And the shittiest thing about this whole thing was the COVID thing, that we didn't get to see him play on our court here in Toronto in front of us for his last few games, that we didn't get a proper goodbye with him. And it's sad. It sucks. And I'm still heartbroken by this because I wanted to see him finish his career here in Toronto with us here. And the Tampa thing really sucks in the long run. But this is one of the saddest things about this year is saying goodbye to our greatest Raptor of all time. He truly is the greatest Raptor of all time. He brought respectability. He brought a championship here. He brought playoffs to us. He was the guy singly most, to me, and DeMar's there right next to him, but he was the guy that really instituted our culture and who we are as a franchise. And thank God we got Fred to be the next guy to pass it to him. And, you know, hopefully he can do as well a job as Kyle did eventually. But it's a tough shoes to fill. And it's sad that he's gone. It is sad. And now he's on the COVID protocols, and Miami's having to suspend their game last night against the Spurs. You know, it's a tough time all around this year, and it's just what it is. And, you know, that we got robbed of that. And that is something that I hate. I'll always hate that how this year went down with Kyle Lowry. I will always hate that. But yeah, you get 5 points for that, MK. And now we've got the top 5 all filled in because you have named OG Anunoby. He is number 3 on this list. He had 1,878 minutes in the calendar year of 2021. Of course, these guys may get some minutes added to them in the next, next night, tomorrow night. There'll be minutes added to this number here. So yeah, OG was an interesting year. We saw some growth in him individually, especially the beginning of this season. It looked like he might be at a new level of a scorer, or more of a take over the game kind of guy, more enhanced on his offensive end, instead of just being very, very focused on defense, and then the offense comes as it does. But he was getting more aggressive and going and taking his shot. And I'm really excited to see OG get back after this little break, because I think it'll be a similar thing to what's just happened with Pascal. Pascal got some time off. He came back and he was fresh, and he was a surgeon the other night. He carved up Philadelphia in the way he was scoring and stuff like that. And I think OG's going to be like this too, with a fresh perspective, feeling fresh and like not tired out. He's going to come back and he's going to be nasty. He's going to be nasty. And I want to see all them synergize and just kick some ass. Yeah, click to AM. Yeah, the Kyle Lowry thing, it pisses me off a lot. Oh, yeah. And it's just you can go through the list of all the things that this pandemic has robbed us of, and different things, whether it's plans with your family, plans to do travel, plans to do different things in your life that you just didn't get to do because of this. And this thing right here is one that's going to be tough for me for years to come. The whole thing with Kyle Lowry and his exit, and how we didn't get to say a proper goodbye to him when he was actually still in our jersey. We'll say it when he comes back with Miami, but it just won't be the same in some ways. So yeah, click. I'm in February. We have a lot of fans in the building. Yeah, when the Heat come, I hope there's a lot of fans there too by then. And hopefully this surge and all this stuff, and we can take some of this capacity limits down and not be so mean about the masks. I mean, I understand it's all for safety and it's important. Yeah, click 2 a.m. Can't forget Demar. Demar is the reason why everyone doesn't take us lightly anymore when we play, and we earned respect from teams. Yeah, I don't want to slight Demar at all. He is important too. Like I said, they're like 1A and 1B for their importance for what happened with this franchise in the last 10 years. But I'm really focused on 2021. I have, it looks like another 8 names on this list, guys, of guys who played the most minutes for the Raptors in the calendar year of 2021. They have at least 500 minutes. So they have to have played at least 500 minutes for the Raptors. So think about who's on the team right now and who was on the team last year, who isn't on the team anymore, that might have gotten that many minutes last season. So, all right, let's see. Kem Birch, MK47. Yeah, that's number 13 on this list. Honestly, I wanted Kem to be way higher. And a lot of this is injury. Like, if he hadn't been so injured in this season right now, he'd be way higher on this list. He'd be up in the top 10. But we haven't seen Kem enough. Kem's knee is pissing me off. I see him on the bench with that thing on his knee, and I'm just like, what the fuck? We need to get this guy back out there. Why is this being a problem for like almost 2 months now? It seems like this has been an issue, his knee. So I really hope they can fix this as quickly as possible and get him back out there, because he is one of these names like Gary Trent Jr. that we added this year. And that then in the long run, these are bright spots for what's happened this year. The acquiring of great new players that are on our team right now. Wink, wink. So, yeah, Kem Birch is on this list, number 13, 5 more points for MK. And click 2 a.m., 5 more points for you, Malachi Flynn. Yes, and this is deceiving. You guys may not believe where Malachi is on this list. Malachi is number 8 on this list. Malachi played the 8th most minutes out of any Raptor in 2021. And that's why I'm so pissed off at him for playing so shitty the other night. Malachi, you got the minutes. You've been playing a lot this year. You know that when you get this time, you need to make the most of it and be productive. And you were not doing that on Tuesday. That's why I'm down on you right now. So Malachi had to play a shit ton last season with the COVID stuff and different things like that. He started a lot of games last year and stuff like that. And we'll see what happens. If he turns it around the second half and he's way better and more productive and stuff like that, okay, I'll be like, yeah, let's keep him. But right now, I don't want him on our team next year. I'm on that camp now with everybody else. I was going to say give him 3 years, but if he shits the bed in this second year and he's getting opportunities to actually play and produce and be there for us, and he's not doing it, then no, I don't want to continue with him. I'd rather get a big point guard like Delano Banton and put him in his spot in the rotation. Yeah. Okay, MK47 is named DeAndre Bembry, and that is completely true. And I'm glad you got DeAndre. DeAndre's number 12 on this list. He has more minutes than Khem Birch for the season. And of course, DeAndre was really important to us during the COVID time because he was one of the main guys that had to start and fill in for us. And he was so scrappy and he was all over the place. But it's really interesting what happened with DeAndre. We didn't keep him in the offseason, and now he's on the Nets, and he's playing quite well for them. He's actually been starting for the Nets this year, and they're doing really well. More power to him. I'm really proud of DeAndre. He was a player I liked. I kind of wanted him still on this team. But what happened with DeAndre is he kind of got hide out, that we went this positionless route and his height isn't enough. His wingspan isn't enough compared to what we're trying to do with the standard of bodies that we have on our team. So DeAndre, I wish him well. He was a part of a team that was really tough and had to play in a really bad spot in Tampa and stuff like that. And, I'll have a respect for DeAndre Bembry and his hustle and the things that he did forever. Just being there in spot duty for us and doing different things for us. It was fantastic and it was important. Let's see. Click 2 AM saying, honestly, we should trade Dragic and Flynn for another center or bench depth. Flynn is so disappointing. When his shots don't fall, he's literally useless. Yeah, almost literally useless. I mean, if he was more of a playmaker and his defense was super superb, then I'd be like, yeah, I can get away with him missing shots. But that's not the case right now. He's not being the playmaker he could be. And he's not, his defense is suspect at times to me. Like, I don't think that he's a lockdown guy or somebody that he's like a plus defender. He's just an average good defender, but he's not a super great defender. So, all right, MK got the next guy on this list, Yuta Watanabe. Yeah, baby. Yuta, you know what? Actually, this is really interesting. Yuta jumped up in the last couple games because he's played so many minutes in the last 2 games. He jumped from 14th on this list all the way up to 9th. He's 9th on this list. He played the 9th most minutes in 2021 for the Raptors at 977 minutes this year. And what a great story Yuta's been. Like, honestly, last year he had to do a lot of stuff for us and duty that we, threw him to the fire because of COVID and having to have to play. And now again, this week it's happened again. But this week it's a different Yuta than it was last season. He's more aggressive and he's taking more initiative and taking his shots and not hesitating and going and being aggressive, getting the rebounds and just being all over the place. I love Yuta Watanabe, and he is the heart of this team in some ways. He is the guy who's just all out, and just seeing his emotion in the last 2 games, whether it's his frustration or his happiness, or just him going, trying to block centers, messing with Joel Embiid down low, that is insane. He's fearless, and I love Yuta. And if they're going to remember him for Anthony Edwards forever and that stupid dunk, go ahead and make that mistake. But this kid, he's amazing, and I'm so glad he's sticking. And Nick Nurse realizes he's an important part of our rotation going forward and that he's got a spot on our team. He's going to be here, and I love that. I love that. So 5 more points for Yuta Watanabe. MK, you're killing it today, man. You got a lot of points. You're going to jump up in the standings. I think you might get up into the top 3 after today. Okay, Stanley Johnson. Yes, on the down low. Stanley Johnson played a lot for us this year. He's number 11 on this list. He just got passed by Yuta and a couple other current players on this list, but Stanley was important at the time. I was calling him Bizarro OG last year. I was like, when OG wasn't available or he wasn't able to play, I was like, put in Bizarro OG. And then Stanley would come out and he'd kind of have that same kind of aggressiveness on defense and physicality and stuff like that. And I have a warm spot in my heart for Stanley. He's somebody that I would root for, just because he's such a quirky, weird dude. Like, if you heard him talk in interviews, he was very well-spoken and just astute and just a cool guy, like a really nice guy. But then his play and the way he is on the court is kind of just wild. It's wild. It's a little bit like Precious now, but it's a little bit more refined in some ways, not as much talent. But I love Stanley just for being one of those guys in the trenches in the Tampa horrible year and just being there for us. And I'm glad he's finding spots on different teams through the G League right now, whether he was on Chicago for a hot second and now he's on the Lakers right now and stuff like that. I wish him all the best. But yeah, he was a part of this year. Stanley Johnson got 970 minutes for the Raptors in 2021. So the trivia today, guys, is what Toronto Raptors have the most minutes in the calendar year of 2021 that we're just ending up. And I have this all figured out and added up, adding last season with this season and the games that weren't on this calendar year from last season and the games even this week added on and everything. So answer as you wish. I still got 1, 2, 3. I got 3 names on this list. Nobody's got any strikes. You've been perfect so far. So get a little risky. Think about last year. Think about this year. And think about there's actually, I have 4 people on this list because there's actually 4 over 500. So there's 16 altogether. 3 of them are currently on the team and 1 of them is from last year. So that's the clue I'll give you. I'm not going to give you too many good clues just because this is kind of easy in a way. You got to think about who's in our rotation, who had to play a lot, who we're glad is playing a lot, because you'd be surprised who's on this list. Raymond Jacob, good morning. Good to see you. Anyone say Tank Commander Baines? He played a lot. Yes, Raymond James, you're on the board. I said Raymond Jacob. Sorry, I thought of the company. Aaron Baines, that's right. Raymond gets that one. Aaron Baines is number 14 on this list. He actually played, sadly, 895 minutes for the Raptors in the calendar year of 2021. There was a point where we gave up on the Aaron Baines experiment and just like, what the fuck? Just put him on the bench. And he sat on the bench for a long time at the end of the last season. But he did get 895 minutes for us at some point. And, yeah, you got to put him on this list. Yeah, I'm going to give it to Raymond, but you're right there. Okay. MK, you just said one of the big, huge bright spots of 2021 for the Raptors, and this may be the one we remember the most, is we drafted Scotty Barnes in 2021. And that with Fred's 54-point game, those are the huge bright spots to me this year. And yeah, MK, he's number 10 on this list. Scotty's actually moved up past DeAndre, Kem, Stanley, Aaron Baines, all these guys within the last, little bit that he played before he went on COVID protocols. He's got 973 minutes for the Raptors in 2021. And if he plays tomorrow night, he can get to 1,000, hopefully, because I'd love to see him do that. So you guys are marking them off. I've only got 1 last name on this list. And 2. They're both right over 500, and one of them played in the last game. One of them could have played in the last game, but he didn't. For some reason, he was sitting on the bench. He's somebody new also. They're both players that are on the team right now. So let's see if anybody's daring enough to figure out who these last 2 are. One of them I'm pissed off at, just like Malachi. And then the other one is somebody I'd like to get back as soon as possible, maybe for tomorrow night, to play Zubac and all those guys, Mark Morris and stuff. Oh, okay, MK, you got them both right there. So, yep, the 2 names are Svi Mihalik and Precious Achua. Svi's got 582 minutes for us. He may have too many minutes for us, honestly, if you ask me. I know that he's like Nick Nurse's teacher's pet right now. He's kind of like his guy. Like, I don't know if it's this thing where Nick Nurse sees himself in Svi, like from younger when he was playing, and he's like, that's why he's giving him so much rope and stuff like that. But honestly, when we get the full complement of the Raptors back with our roster, he's going to have his minutes cut and maybe be benched for a bit just because of the quality of how he's been playing lately to me. Like, give him a try, get him out there, let him take 2 shots. But if he doesn't make at least one of those 2 shots, yank him and don't play him for the rest of the game. He's got to make at least one of his first 2 shots. And I don't want to play him otherwise. He may be a good defender and get some steals and do different things like that. But we have other guys that can fill that time with much more production than that. And I really do believe that. And then Precious is another bright spot because, look, we got Kem, we got Precious, we got Gary, and we got Scotty this year. These are 4 huge players that we've acquired in 2021. And these are bright spots to us going forward. Like, this is the year that we got some big time players on our team. And these are players that are not just average role players. These are players that could develop and become so much more than they are, whether it's Scotty, whether it's Gary, whether it's Precious, and even Kem. Kem could have an even better offensive game in the next couple of years if he really works on it and he wants to, because he really doesn't. He's so unselfish. He doesn't try to find his shot. but he could be really good. And when he does shoot, he makes it a lot of times. Let's see what Click's saying. Click 2 a.m. He's given Svi minutes because we need scoring and he can give us threes, but he's very inconsistent. His shot selection is bad at times. Yeah, I'll agree with a lot of what you're saying right now. Obviously, we've had to play him recently just because of who's been out and stuff like that. But even before that, when we had everybody, he was getting favored over some people that I thought maybe should have been getting some of the bench time that he was getting. And, he does do a lot of things when he's on, but I don't know what's going on with him. I want him to play more within himself. I feel like sometimes he's getting the ball and he's open, but he's hesitating when he should be shooting right away. Like he's the kind of shooter like Del Curry. He needs to grab the ball and shoot quick release right away. Like when you touch that ball, you need to shoot it right away. Don't hesitate. Don't even think about it, Svi, because that hesitation is part of the reason why you're missing. If you're such an automatic guy, you can make 99 out of 100 in preseason and the three-point shooting competition for the Raptors in training camp. Why aren't you just no hesitation, automatic? When you catch that ball, shoot it with the confidence that you make it. You're an automatic shooter. That's what I want from him, because I don't see the confidence when he gets the shot. And you're right. Some of his fundamentals with his shot are messed up. Like that one shot he took in the corner the other night where he was lofting up in the air and he was kind of floating out in the corner against Philadelphia. That looked really ugly to me. And I'm like, what the fuck is he taking that crazy ass shot for like that? So I want Svi to rein it in, get more fundamentally sound with his shot, like way he's doing it, and don't hesitate. That's part of why you're missing, Svi, is you're hesitating when you catch it. You need to just be that kind of guy. I'm going to make it, and I'm catching, I'll make it, because when Gary threw the ball to you in the last game, you did it that way, and that's what it looked like. So we can see you can do it. It's just what is going on? Maybe you're too much in your head. And that's part of the problem is you have a little bit of trouble. You're not playing as well as you could. And then you get in your head and then it makes it even worse. So we just need him to get out of his head, be more unconscious, and just shoot it, buddy. You got the muscle memory. You can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. So yeah, that's our list. I'll go over it real quick. These are the top 16 players that played for the Raptors in minutes in the calendar year of 2021, last season and this season so far. Number 1, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell, Malachi Flynn, Yuta Watanabe, Scotty Barnes, Stanley Johnson, DeAndre Bembry, Kem Birch, Aaron Baines, Svi Mihalik, and Precious Achiuwa. And Svi just actually passed Precious in the last game. He was under him and wasn't going to be on this list. But then he got more minutes than Precious, and I still wanted to include Precious, so I made it 16. Let's see. Click saying, there was a play versus Philly when he was wide open for three. He hesitated and passed up an open three for DJ Wilson, who went to the free throw line. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I see him open when he initially gets the shot, but he's taking a couple seconds to think about whether he should take it or not. Just fucking take it, Svi. That's what you're supposed to do. And your mechanics and the way you shoot is really good. It's the fact that you're too much in your head, I think, right now. So just take it, man. Let it fly. I mean, if you miss it, at least I saw it with the eye test. Okay, he's not hesitating, and he's actually taking the open shot when he has it, because he looks tentative when he does get open and he's thinking too much. I really think that's part of what his problem is right now, is he's too much in his head. He's thinking too much when he gets the ball. He needs to just let it fly. So, all right, guys, that's basically what I wanted to do today. Just go through the thing. Actually, let me count up the points real quick. So Click got 10 points today. Raymond got on the board with 5. Good job, buddy. And he got it for Aaron Baines, too. That's hilarious. And MK, man, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 65 points, MK. You just doubled your points today, man. You were at 67. So that's 12, 132. You're in number 3 in the list now, behind G and Alistair, MK. So good job today. 17 points overall for Click 2 a.m. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Let's go. I'm just initially doing my preview for the Clippers a little bit today. They're in tough shape. Like I said, they're not the best talent right now, and we should be able to beat them. We should be able to beat the Clippers tomorrow night. They beat the Celtics last night with Eric Bledsoe and one of the Morris brothers being the guys carrying the lead in the end and stuff like that. But I think we're way better than what the Celtics had put against them, because I'm looking at their roster, man, and the Clippers look like pretenders right now. Like, they're not the normal Clipper team. They're in a bad place. They're like, I think they have a losing record right now. So we need to capitalize on this and beat their ass tomorrow night. I feel like it's going to be good. Let's see. You want to hear the top 3 in points? Okay, yeah, hang on. Right now, G has – all right, listen. This is the thing, though. G killed it in a couple of the games recently. He got almost all the points in a couple of games recently. He has 414 points. Like, G is – like, he's in another stratosphere compared to everybody else. Alistair has 147, and you have 132. So you could get number 2 pretty easy, but that number 1, you're going to have to work to get that one. And don't worry, I'm going to do these trivias for the whole season. I don't know how many we'll end up with, but there will be a chance to try and get at G. But G is a G right now. I'm not going to lie. Like, 414 points. He killed it on one competition where he was like, there were only like 2 or 3 people you're playing like today, and he got like a majority of them. And I mean, it was nasty. Yeah, the Celtics are hot garbage right now. With Tatum's out right now, and they're the Celtics are pretenders too, like just like Philly. So the things are opening up for us. The real teams in the Atlantic Division right now are just what Starscream's saying. It's the Nets and us. And the Knicks, the Sixers, and the Celtics, they're all kind of pretenders right now in a lot of ways. And we look like pretenders just because of our record, but that's only because of our health and all of our other issues. When we come back full strength, we're not going to look like a pretender. Oh, no, we won't. And I want to see this so bad. I'm chomping at the bit. I'm just waiting for 2022 to come around and all these guys to get cleared of protocols, because they're sitting at home chomping at the bit too. And they're ready. Oh, yeah, they're ready to come back and get that good feeling of getting some W's in the NBA. And I know that they're about to, because we've got so much talent. We've got so many good guys that we should be able to overwhelm teams with our defensive presence, especially if we're fresher in the middle of the season all of a sudden, and these other teams are worn out or missing different guys, and all of a sudden we come back with a full complement of guys, and they've been kind of sitting around, and they're not tired, and they're not really messed up from COVID or anything. We're going to be deadly. We're going to be nasty. I really fully predict this for 2022, and we'll be away from this 40% winning year. That's what this year was. 2021 was a 40% winning year for the Raptors franchise, and we can change that. Let's just get it all out of the way after the calendar gets switched to the next year, and we can be a 60% winning team once again, because that's who we are, truly. This year is an aberration. A lot of it is just the pandemic and Tampa and Aaron Baines. So there you go. All right, guys, let's go tomorrow. Preview the last day of 2021. Thank God. And let's get to the new year, and Raptors are going to kick so much ass. I'm not lying, y'all. You guys know it. We see it. I can't wait. This is like late Christmas for me. All right, let's go. Woo!